You've seen the schedule. So let's not waste each other's time here, because we don't have a lot of time doing the hard stuff that we need to do to get to where we want to go. This is about winning. It's about winning the world championship, period.
It's time for a playoff edition of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. Inside the Globe Life studio here at the Star in Frisco, Bill Jones, along with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. It's the Cowboys and the 49ers. 3:30 kickoff on Sunday at AT&T Stadium. And, Coach, this is what you've been waiting for. Everyone's been waiting for. Ever since you got the team back together back in April, this is what you're shooting for this time of the year. It's an exciting time of the year.
Without a doubt, no question. I think, our players have done a tremendous job, just staying the course. Just like any season, you have the ups and downs and adversity, and just really to be in this position to be healthy, relatively healthy. So we feel really good about how we are going into this game.
All right, let's dive into this matchup against the 49ers. It's a 49er team like the Cowboys, been on a hot streak the last month or 2 months of the season. They've won 7 of the last 9. Cowboys 5 of the last 6. What do you see when you look at Kyle Shanahan's team?
Very, very consistent football team. Obviously, I think they do a really good job of playing to their identity. Have a distinct way they want to play, offense and defense and special teams. And I think a lot like us, and I think you've already made the point, playing their best football. They're playing their best football going into the playoffs, so this is going to be a heck of a challenge.
Well, you look at this offense, Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, of course, 2 years ago they were in the Super Bowl, just like Dak last year. He had a season-ending injury. He's come back, has a nice season this year, playing through a thumb injury himself. What do you think when you see what Garoppolo's doing?
Well, I think like anything, he's total command of the offense, and that's, to be expected. They're a playoff team, can play at a very high level, but he does a really good job getting the ball distributed to his playmakers. You look at their distribution numbers; they're excellent. As particularly how they get the ball to their players, but what their perimeter players do with the ball in space, because they're all excellent. Yards after catch. That's really illustrated in their statistics and their production statistics. And Jimmy's a huge part of that.
And they like to run the football. They've had the emergence of a rookie at running back, Elijah Mitchell, 6th-round draft pick, who in 11 games this year has nearly 1,000 yards. What's the challenge for your defense in stopping the run this week against them?
Oh, it's like anything. You got to know your fits and run and hit, and they do a really good job of stressing your contained defender. How the support fits, particularly with the different motions and the formations that they give you, and not only the variation of it, but the stress and the timing of it and the tempo of it. So, and Mitchell's an excellent runner, and it starts with them running the football. There's no question about it, and they're very creative in their run plan.
How about the mindset of your defense? Just listening to DeMarcus Lawrence, listening to Micah Parsons, who, by the way, he feels like he's coming off a bye week after missing last week. He feels refreshed. They really seem locked in right now.
Oh, I would say we're clearly having a very focused week of preparation, without a doubt, and that's the way it needs to be. This is no time to change. This is no time to make things up or create a bunch of different things because it's playoff time. It's really being the best that we can be, playing the type of football that we've been playing.
All right, the guy that jumps off the screen on this Niners offense is Deebo Samuel. They use him in a variety of ways. He has nearly 1,500 yards receiving, 6 touchdowns, but even running the football. They line him up at running back too. He has got eight rushing touchdowns. So what do you see? What's the biggest challenge facing a guy like Deebo Samuel in this offense?
Well, he's dynamic with the ball in his hand, just based off of just the numbers you've expressed. But I think more importantly is how they get him the football. He's everywhere. He's in the backfield. He's in motion. He's the second guy in a shift. So just really the targeting challenge that he presents on top of also the schematic challenge. But he's dynamic with the ball in his hands, and he's definitely someone that we need to swarm to and tackle.
All right, we're just getting started on this edition of the Mike McCarthy Show. Up next, it's David Moore of the Dallas Morning News.
Just looking at San Francisco, them now and their past history, they always wanted to be a physical team up front, lead with their offensive line, and we do the same thing. So, yes, it's going to be a physical match. Looking forward to it. Just excited to be in the playoffs, and just ready to go, man.
The Mike McCarthy Show, presented by Reliant, is brought to you by AT&T, Ford, Built for Texas, built for you. The University of North Texas, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. It's Miller time. And by Reliant, an NRG company. This segment is brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
The Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, continues now here inside the Globe Life studio. Bill Jones now joined by David Moore of the Dallas Morning News, SportsDayDFW.com. All right, let's talk about not only the Cowboys, but the 49ers. There's a real similarity in these two teams in the fact that they are both coming off 6-10 seasons last year. At this point, they both lost their starting quarterbacks last year.
Yeah, I really think, especially from the Cowboys' perspective, when they brought Mike McCarthy in last year, I think the expectation was to build on where they were and to go deeper in the postseason than they have in these last 26 years. You had to hit the default button on that, But San Francisco did too. They were coming off a Super Bowl and they found themselves in a similar position. So I think it's very interesting. This is really a matchup on Sunday that, to me, I think both franchises would have anticipated happening last year. But because of both quarterbacks being injured, because of injuries across the board and COVID, neither were able to navigate that situation. But they're back now, and this is a really interesting matchup.
Well, and take it from the perspective of Dak. Obviously the comeback of the year season that he's had this year. But at this point in his career, where he's at, you are defined in your careers by what you do in the postseason.
And he knows that. He doesn't hide from that. And I found it interesting, he early in the week, he went up to Mike McCarthy and he said, "What do you need from me this week? What do I need to do?" And McCarthy just said, "You do everything right every day. Just keep it up. I mean, we believe in you. It's all there. We just have to continue what we've put in place here and keep it going." But Dak realizes, and it's the obligation that goes with that contract, but also the obligation he has to his profession and to his teammates about, I have a responsibility here. And it's not just about getting to this point. It's about winning and taking this team beyond that divisional playoff round, which has been a ceiling that these teams have been unable to break in 27 years.
All right, you talk about not making it last year. We all know why everything went haywire last year. But one guy on this team this year who wasn't on that team last year, who's a real difference maker, is Micah Parsons. And what he brings to the table defensively, I think, can be a difference maker in a playoff game.
No, and I think fans need to look at it that way as well. For so long, it's been like, well, what does Dak Prescott have to do? What does Amari Cooper? What about Ezekiel Elliott? Well, now you have a difference maker on the defensive side of the ball that you haven't had here in several years of like, well, how is that other team going to handle Micah Parsons? And Micah Parsons missed last week because of his positive COVID test for Omicron. But he mentioned, and I found this very interesting, he said, well, yeah, I'm really fresh now. I had like a little extra bye week. And did you notice what I did after my last bye week? And that was the Minnesota game. And go back and look at his numbers in that Minnesota game from the linebacker position. I think he had 11 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss. He was dominant in that game as a linebacker. They'll need him to be so in this game as well with Deebo Samuel and the way that San Francisco attacks the defense.
It should be very fun, adding to the litany, the legend of the Cowboys-49ers rivalry that really goes back some 50 years in the playoffs. All right, David Moore, we appreciate it. And up next here on the Mike McCarthy Show, Isaiah Standback in the film room breaking down this Niners run game.
This segment was brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage. This segment is brought to you by WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy. As Isaiah Standback now joins us, we take an up-close look here in the film room at this 49ers offense. Everybody talking about the fact that they love to run the football. We saw evidence of it last week in that win over the Rams. At one point in that game in the third quarter, they were behind in the game, and they ran it 10 straight plays. So what's going on with Kyle Shanahan's offense?
Kyle Shanahan is cut from that cloth. And you got to remember his dad and what he was able to do back in his time in the league. And these guys were going to try to enforce their will upon you. They are dominant in the run game, and they have two guys in the backfield that are able to give you some problems. One comes in the form of Elijah Mitchell. The other one comes in the form of wide receiver Deebo Samuel, who just happens to have 1,400 yards of receiving as well. And I'm going to show you guys a lot of their success comes from this running scheme. And we're going to see it right here, okay? I want you guys to pay attention to this offensive guard. He does an amazing job of getting his head across and reaching and sealing off this side. What that allows this center now to do is to work up to your second level. I am calling out our linebackers this week. They need to play their best, most physical game as possible. You're also going to see this offensive tackle work his way up to the second level defender. So two of their most strongest, most dominant, physically imposing guys in our offensive front are going to be going up against your 240-pound linebackers. These guys have to play physical and come downhill if we want to have any success in stopping them. You'll see that reach block right there. He does a great job. He now has sealed him off. Here goes that center that we talked about, working his way up. Here goes the combo block with Kittle and the offensive tackle working up here as well, coming up here to the second level. And you guys will see a seam that is created. Bam, now Elijah Mitchell was able to put his foot in the ground and get vertical and get about 4 yards here. Great job by this offense getting the line of scrimmage moved and working up to the second level and creating mismatches. All right, here we go again, okay? Let's go ahead and go here. Offensive guard reaching, center working up. Tackle working with Kittle here. Kittle gets his head across. Tackle works up to the second level and he gets a block. Let's take a look at it. Ball to snap. You guys see the motion coming across. Man, working up to the next level. Here he is, got the seal. Here he is, coming with the block. And you guys can see, going to play a little bit more. This is the lane, bam, right there that he's looking for. Look at that hole. That is what they're trying to do. They are trying to literally split the C and give him an opportunity to shoot the hole. Rams do a pretty good job, but again, 4 yards a pop. That's a problem.
Elijah Mitchell averaging 4.7 yards a carry. Rookie out of Louisiana Tech, has 4.37 speed, but loves to run between the tackles. All right, how about Deebo at running back right here?
Oh, man, Deebo's a problem because he is a physical imposing guy. He's 5'11", 215 pounds. That means he is built like a fire hydrant. He is compact. There's no good places to hit him. And they do a great job of getting him going and with another opportunity for cut-back big play opportunities. When you see him back there, they're looking for the big play, and they rely a lot on their receiver Jennings to come in here and be physical as well. So let's go ahead and let this thing play out, and I'll show you guys exactly what we're looking at here. Again, you see the motion coming across the formation. The reason why they do that, pause that, because when they run that motion, now they get these guys to bump over. These linebackers have to bump over. What happens when they do that? Let's see it go. Go ahead and play it out. Perfect, right there. What they're looking for is to try to create this momentum of these guys working across the field to give their offensive linemen the leverage that they need to now hit these seal blocks, okay? These guys are motioning across. You get the seal blocks. You get a kick down right here by their center. Oh, my goodness, he just destroys this man, okay? And when he destroys this man, now look at this gaping hole. These guys have literally cut off half the field, and now you have Deebo Samuel, their most dominant running back, or wide receiver / running back, with this whole hole right here. Again, we talked about Jennings, his ability to come back and get this block. What they're looking to do is they're looking to try to get him to set the edge, come all the way backside and catch out the shoot. He wants one-on-one on this man right here. Their safety, he wouldn't stand a chance. Hopefully our guy does.
Well, and that center you're talking about, Alex Mack, 36 years old. He's been in the league doing that for a long time. Isaiah, we appreciate it. And up next, we take an up-close look at the 49ers when the Cowboys have the football.
We're going to knuckle up, focusing on the details. And, you know, when the run game that good, I mean, everything's small, detailed out, and we're going to have to really focus in and make sure we go out there and play our best football.
I think it just allows you to not take any moment for granted. And yeah, it seems like a long time. Obviously, just putting everything that's happened in between there, on the field, off the field, not making the playoffs, personal things being taken away from the game, to being able to be back here with such a great team, and just knowing the opportunity that we have in front of us. Just not only the talent, but the brotherhood, the relationships, and just the special bond that we've got. I think that's going to be the factor that we take into this game that can carry us far.
Welcome back to the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy inside the Globe Life studio here at the Star. Cowboys and Niners. It's a 3:30 kickoff on Sunday. Let's talk about the Cowboys offense. Let's start with Dak and what a season Dak has had this year. Cowboys ranking up there in scoring offense, #1 in the league, total offense as well. You have to feel good though. And when we start talking about Dak, we talk about his leadership, having this guy leading your football team into the postseason.
No question. I think just like anything, I mean, we have excellent numbers over the course of our 17 games, but the body of work is what you do with it. The leadership is so natural for him, but he's also an outstanding quarterback. So I think these are the games that we live for. These are the games that it's obviously quarterback driven. Particularly this time of year. So we just need Dak to be Dak come Sunday.
Yep, and I think he's the odds-on favorite, no doubt, to win Comeback Player of the Year this year, what he's gone through the last year. They've got a Comeback Player of the Year candidate on the other side in Nick Bosa, who only played 2 games last year, and what a season he's had. 15.5 sacks, 21 tackles for loss. What kind of a problem does he present?
Well, I mean, just his ability to put pressure on the quarterback, particularly the penetration that he gives them in the run game also too. So. Yeah, Nick's obviously one of the top players in the league, and I think if you just look at his pressure numbers, it speaks volumes. So, he's definitely someone we need to focus on.
Tyron Smith back this week, looking good in practice.
He's had a good week. He's having a good week of practice. It's great to have him back, no doubt.
Well, when you look at this front 6, really, because they play a 4-2-5 like most teams in the league, their base. It's one of the best in the league. Fred Warner at linebacker. When you look at the ability to run the football against this team and establish the run, how important is that in this game?
I mean, the depth of it's in the details, and that's where we got to be right on top of it and in the finish. I mean, they're extremely talented. It's a scheme that they play very, very well. They're very comfortable. They play fast, play with really good energy, and they have a number of playmakers that can make big plays. So, the ability to win the one-on-ones and clearly make sure we take advantage of the 2-1 opportunities when we have those. So, but yeah, this is clearly one of the best fronts in football.
Zeke played 3 quarters last week, as did your first team offense against the Eagles. 18 carries, 87 yards. You feel good about where Zeke is right now? I
feel great about where Zeke is. This is really the vision for him. He's obviously, his numbers of attempts is very high throughout his career, and I think the fact that we were able to manage that throughout the season. I think this is exactly what you're looking for. Exactly what you're looking for with the combination of Zeke and Tony. Going into the playoffs. So feel great about where he is physically, particularly with his injury. He's been he's been dealing with this since Carolina, and this is the best he's looked in quite some time.
How about the tight ends in this game? Kittle on one side and Dalton Schultz. Kittle's in the Pro Bowl. Dalton Schultz has Pro Bowl numbers for you.
Oh, no doubt. Dalton's had incredible. I mean, Dalton's been an incredible player just. Last year and this year. I mean, he's so consistent, quarterback smart, really understands the intricacies of what we're trying to get done in all 3 phases of the run, pass, and protection. So yeah, this will be a good battle.
All right, we wrap up the Mike McCarthy Show in just a moment. Final couple of minutes here of the Mike McCarthy Show, powered by Reliant Energy, as we get you set for Cowboys and Niners, 3:30 at the stadium. My unsung star of the week. He's not unsung behind the walls here at the Star in Frisco, especially the last couple of years with what we've been going through with this pandemic. It would be one Jim Maurer. Oh, you couldn't do this without Jim Maurer, right?
Absolutely. I mean, Jim is my first stop every morning, and it doesn't stop for Jim, all day and all night long. So yeah, he's done obviously his normal job, being an athletic trainer, but just really, all the extra work that goes into the, dealing with the COVID challenge, the protocols, the different changes, not only just for the players and the coaches and support staff, but for our families. Yeah, we would be lost without Jim. Jim's done an incredible job for us.
Just as rock steady as they come, too. All right, the scene at the stadium, you want to see as many of those white towels waving as possible, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's going to be a great atmosphere. I understand what the concern is, but at the end of the day, you got 2 excellent teams lining up, and it's going to be a great atmosphere.
It's a storied playoff rivalry between the Cowboys and the Niners. We continue it on Sunday afternoon. Good luck, and let's do this again next week. What do you say? All right, thanks for joining us here for the Mike McCarthy Show. Enjoy the game on Sunday, and we will see you again next week.
These big moments, this is where you got to have your best performances. These moments like this are what your career is remembered as. Is where you leave your legacy. So just got to go out there and take advantage of this opportunity.
The Mike McCarthy Show, presented by Reliant, was brought to you by Ford, built for Texas, built for you. Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Cowboys. It's Miller time. Geico, switch today and see all the ways you could save. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full and condensed game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl.